Good morning, everyone. Welcome to week 4, day 2 of our training. Today we'll just continue from where we stopped on Monday. So we're trying to figure out how to take care of routing. Yeah, thank you, Alabi. I'll do so. So we're working on routing, right? And we had some blockers with regards to nested routing and also with handling page not found, right? So I told you guys to research on it and then give me feedback on what you discovered. So who did that research? Were you guys able to do that research? Text box quickly. I'm waiting. Nobody was able to do the research. Faith, were you able to find out why our code was not working? Just unmute yourself and speak if you hear your name.
No.
Henry, how about you?
Not at all.
And Ianu, okay, yeah, Ianu, how about you? So nobody did any research. You guys don't do research. You just wait for our classes. Henry, what's your excuse? Okay, Adaobi, let's hear from you. What did you discover?
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
I discovered that instead of using for that, we could have used asterisks
Okay.
for our error page. Then
Yes.
for the next thing, I also discovered that we are supposed to wrap the route around the child, like the child that we want to nest. Like the parents route part should close after the child that we are trying to nest to the parents.
Okay. So apparently we are not supposed to have like a one-liner when doing the nested routing. Yeah, that's what you mean?
Yes, sir.
Should be like a wrapper. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
And what happens with the route itself?
Sorry, what do you mean? Like, I
What
don't
happens
understand
with
the
the route
question.
itself? With the route here, what then happens with the nested routes? Is there anything that should happen with the nested routes?
Like when we should wrap it around.
Yeah, you've talked about wrapping it. So what happens to the route itself? Let me uncomment it. So this is our nested route. This is our dashboard, and we are adding this as our nested route.
Okay, then we'll do /dashboard/settings.
Okay,
Then for the
that's what we do
profile.
manually. /dashboard/settings, is that something you do not manually, or is it something React Router handles on its own?
Well, I know of use params, but I don't know. It depends on what you want to do and how your page is.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I'm very impressed with the fact that you were able to do some research. I like people who do research. So yeah, well done. Any other person?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other person? No other person did any research. Okay. Caleb, Anosika, Obina, let me hear from you.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
I actually have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, on line 50, I I don't understand how this happened.
Okay. I'm going to explain it to you. I was asking a different question, so I do not need questions at the moment. When I start explaining, you ask your question. For now, I want to know people that did research, people that are serious about what they're doing. Because I feel like if you don't do research on your own, then there's really not much you can discover. Because you cannot use what you learn in class to become a pro in what we're trying to learn here. It's via research and practice that you actually get to understand better what we are trying to achieve here. So if after the class everybody goes to sleep, right, it doesn't make any sense. Caleb, let me hear from you.
Okay, good morning. For the not found, we can also, if there's no part there, it also works too. Yeah. So that was what I wanted to add.
Okay,
Yeah.
so even if you don't add the part,
Yeah, if you remove the parts, yeah.
okay, so if we comment this out now,
Yeah.
it should still work. So any route that is not that doesn't exist should route to not found.
Yeah.
With this application. Okay. All right, thank you. You can drop your hand. Obina, do you still want to say something? Because your hand is still raised.
Yeah, I wanted to say that for this, like the route that is wrapping everything, I think we can just use like a normal route, JSX element, and then instead of wrapping everything in the browser router in our app function, we can use like a router provider, because normally that's what I use, because I saw it in the documentation. So you can use a router provider, then the router provider will take a route that will be declared like inside the app function.
Okay, yeah, so definitely. So this is like the basic usage of router. When you start using router providers and all that, that's like advanced level, right? So you need to know the basics,
Okay.
to know where you are where you are even, but you need to understand like how it works generally, right? So when it comes to using providers, these are things that you will get to use as you advance in your exploration of React router. But it's good that your head is there and you're getting a pick of it. And according to you, you're using it. So yeah, go ahead. But for this training, we are going to be covering basics, right? Are we together? Obina. Okay, good. All right, good. So yeah, so the explanations that have been given or based off research are actually correct. Using the hashtag here collects all the routes that are not defined. So any route that is not defined will be collected by this hash, and it will display the not found components, right? So yeah, that day we're not trying to do our routing inside this. We're doing our routing within the app.js page, right? We're doing it inside the dashboard. So when you're doing this, right, there's a JSX that's provided by React Router DOM that helps you display what you want to display from the route that you've created, right? So let's assume that we lock this up and we want to utilize this route. to display this profile and settings screen, right? If we come here, okay. So if we come to dashboard and we click here, so it's taking us to a not found page. All right, so let's utilize these routes from where we are routing from our app.js. Okay, all right. So we have these routes working now. But when you click on the routes, if you notice, you see that the route is changing, which is fine, which means it exists. And you see that it is, if you come here, I am not explicitly calling this dashboard here. Since it's nesting, it automatically takes this dashboard route, automatically comes in as a prefix before the settings route because it is nested in it. So this is like the child of this. So anytime this route is called, it is going to start with the dashboard with the parent route, which is why we have dashboard first, then slash settings, right? Same thing for profile. But if you notice the components are not displayed, right? So why the components are not displaying because based on the fact that they are nested routes, they are supposed to display within the dashboard route, right? So most times we use nested routes for like dashboard features. We want to display, let's say we want to display different tabs within a dashboard, right? We can utilize nested routes for those kind of scenarios. Now, how do this outlet here, this outlet is a provision by React Router to define where you want to display the content of the new route, right? So if we come back to my UI, right, you will notice that under here you can see profile now displayed. If I click on settings, you can see settings displayed too. Does it make sense to you guys, or are you guys confused? Does it make sense to you, or are you confused? Just text box quickly. Waiting. Can you take it again, please? It makes sense, but yeah, let me hear the but, Alabi. And then Henry, you want me to take it again. So Henry, I need to know what exactly you want me to take again. Okay. So this is the dashboard.jsx, right? We define our dashboard. This is the dashboard. Okay, let me do this. This is where I want to display profile and settings. Okay, so for those components, let's see if we can modify those components a little so that it can make more sense. So let's give it a H1. Okay. And let's do the settings. Okay. All right. So if we come to good. So let's go back to our home page, right? And then good. So what is it displaying? The settings and profile underneath the links. Okay, yeah. So like I said, for dashboard now, we have dashboard here, right? So now you see that this is where we want to display our profile and settings component. So we want to display it under here, right? Now, based on the fact that we want to display it under here, if I click on, or let's look at the implementation itself so that you understand better. I talked about outlets. This outlet component is a part of React Router. As you can see, I'm importing it from React Router. Are you following? Are you following? Good. So we are importing this from React Router. Now this outlet, we are using this outlet to define where we want our profile and settings screen to display. So this outlet is like a component that's holding our nested components, right? It's like, let's say it's a box where we want to put what we have nested. So the profile screen is like something we want to put in this outlet box, right? So we're saying anytime that we call on profile screen, let the profile screen display in this outlet. So this is the outlet. This is where we want that component to display. So in that case now, since this outlet is under, this is where we want to display, right? If I click on profile, it will display that profile component under the outlet. Does it make sense? So the outlet is where the links are displayed. Here, it's not the links, it's the components. So these components will be displayed where this outlet is called. Now let me give you a scenario, right? So let's look at, yeah, makes sense. So let's look at a typical dashboard. So this is a dashboard, right? This is React Router dashboard, right? And on this dashboard, let's assume that we want to use nested route to handle all these page changes, right? So you see that when we click on this, we're having a display here on this side. So this is like our profile, right? And then this dashboard is our dashboard component. So when we click on profile now, this is the outlet. So we are placing the outlet on this side. So we are saying anytime we click on this navigate content should display within the outlet that we are using on this side. Do you understand? Yes, exactly. So the outlet is like, since we are using it within the dashboard component where we have done our routing, our nested routing, right? So it's the dashboard component that has the nested routing. So defining the outlet within the dashboard component handles that display for you. Do you understand? So defining this outlet here handles the display for you. So all you need to do is after handling the routing here, once the outlet is defined, when you click on this link, it should display what you want to visualize. So if I click on settings now, it will show the settings component. This is the settings component, settings page. If I click on profile, it should show that. So that's why I started with saying that this is a very, very useful application when handling things like dashboard display. Yeah, it can also be very useful when handling things like navbar display, right? But ideally, dashboard is more applicable for this kind of, for this method of using React router. Okay. So is anybody still blocked? Can I move forward? Speak, please. Text box, sure. Okay, all right, good. So with that said, so we have covered the path and okay, all right. What if we want to render it in a new browser tab? So why would you want to render in a new browser tab? You won't need to use router now. So React is it's a single page application already. So if you are moving, if you want to move any display to another tab, that means you can easily use an a tag and then give it a target, right? I'm sure you know how to use a tag. So are we following? Good. All right. Okay. Okay. So I don't, there's no, you don't really need routing if you want to open something in a different page. You don't need route because now it's not within the application anymore. You are sending us out of the application, and which routing now is supposed to handle your movement within the application. Yeah. Any other question? Please feel free to ask questions. This was actually a good question. So any questions? No questions? We should move. Should I move forward? Are we good? Please respond. Okay, I got it. The handle, just the movement within it. Yeah. Okay. All right, good. So let's move to something else for today. Let's talk about styling. So how many of you know the different type of styling or different methods of styling? No response. Vanilla JS. So using JavaScript. Bootstrap, okay. Models, yeah. Tailwind, okay. All right. Okay, so we are going to look at 5 different methods of styling our applications. All right. So first thing, let's create a component, pure CSS. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's look at some methods of styling our components. So I'm going to take all these out because I won't be needing routes on this. Okay. All right. So let's create a component for styling. All right, so new file, we have styling component and JSX. All right, so okay. All right, let's dive right into it. So let me come to the app.jsx and import this component. Okay, so this, if we visualize this, we should have our component displayed. Good. All right. Good. So let's start with inline styling. So I'm sure we all understand basic inline styling. That's like writing your style within your HTML tags, right? I'm sure you must have known from when you were doing HTML, CSS, and all, they already, I think trainers are always very particular about the fact that inline styling is not the best, right? Exactly. So inline styling is mostly tacky and not really always clean, right? Yeah, but inline styling basically is when you write your style within the yeah, when you write your style within your HTML. That's inline styling. So for React, this is how we define inline styling. So style equals to curly braces, right? So to define an inline style, we can either define the inline style inside here, or we can still define it up here. I think I showed you guys something like this while we're handling some other uh, aspects of, while we're handling some other things. So let's call it title style, right? Title style. And then it's equals to, okay, let's give it font weight, no need for font weight, let's work it. Just text size and color. Okay, so now if we add this here, right, we want to have blue text and then we want the font weight, font size to be 20px. So that style should actually take effect. So you see that the color has taken effect. Let's say 80. Good. So, okay. That is too much. Let's use 50. All right. So we have 50. So let's do one. Okay. So based on this is like simple way of, this is one way of using inline styling. Is it clear? Do you need any further explanation? It's straightforward. Is just define the style and then utilize it inside your style component, right? Anybody has issues? Good. All right, good. So, but we can also define this style in another way, right? So that will mean that we'll come here and we'll need to have double of these curly braces, right? Then we can now define our style within. So we'll say blue, and then we'll say text. size. All right. So you see that this one is not active right now. You see how it's faint, it's faint. If we go here, it should still affect, it should still have the same styling. Is that clear? So this is the same as this. It's inline styling, the both of them. It's the same thing. Are we good? All right, okay. So let's look at so yeah, basically handling media query in inline styling is quite tedious because you have to write functions. In fact, you have to use JavaScript to do conditionals and then all that. That will be research for you guys to handle. So go and research on how to use inline styling to do your media query. But ideally, you won't necessarily need to do media query with inline styling because it's not advisable to even use inline styling, right? But it's just right that you know those things so that if you have need, if you find yourself in a position where you have need to use inline styling, right? If you find yourself in a position where you have need to use inline styling, apologies for that call. When you have a need to utilize inline styling, right? Yeah, let's go on. You can use it, but assuming you don't know how it works, right? In a scenario where you need to use inline styling, that's not an issue, right? So the highest priority. Sorry, what has the highest priority, Alabi? Unmute your mic.
Hello, no, I'm just talking about the inline CSS having the highest priority compared to the external and the internal.
Okay, yeah. So apparently, if I do the same color styling in my in our normal CSS, external CSS, right? And I give it red, and then I do this style here and give it blue. Which one should work?
So for the, like, I don't know how it works here in React, but the way we normally do
what
it,
you know.
you said what?
Let me hear what you know. The one you
Okay,
know.
so I know that the inline CSS has the highest priority.
Yes. So in that scenario, without understanding, which one do you think will work in that scenario?
Is the inline that will work.
All right. Okay. So yeah, so basically that's that for inline styling. Let's look at model, right? So for models, just like the name implies, that means having your modular kind of styling, right? It's more component based. Model having style or model style is more component based. Like we will not necessarily where the models take us away from global styling, right? So it's like having a style component for each component that you create. Are we good? Do you understand that? So let's assume based on this styling component that we have right now, then we want to create a component called styling component. dot cs dot model dot model dot css. Okay, are we good? Do we understand that? All right, so in the model now we can now define, let's say, the title, right? Let's say the title color blue. All right, and then want to, let's say, want to have text. What did we have for the other one? The other one was text what? Font size. So want to have font size of 50 px. All right, so if we come to our style component now, I don't want to remove this. So let's create another div. No, let's just add a fragment here. All right, so we have hello world. For this, let's give it 1. Okay, so for this scenario, we are now going to, we are calling it, we are going to import the style, right? The style model first. So let's say, all right, so let's say we want to import style from styling. All right, so okay. So now we have our style here, right? So we are going to, we have imported it, right? So we are just going to call it in here. We'll say style, because we are not going to use style here. This is class name because we are calling our style from a different place, right? From an external styling sheet. So we're going to say style, that is this style. Dots. So for our module, we have title. So we're going to say style dot title. So does it make sense to you? If you don't understand, please ask a question. So all we are doing is we are importing it and then we are using it here. this is the model. This is the model. So we are importing this model. Now for CSS, it doesn't work for CSS like it works for JSX, right? But you know how to import CSS. You just import the component. We are importing the component. I'm only calling it style here. So I can decide to call it styler, right? Or styling, and it will still give me the same result. But because, as you can see, it still gives me the same result. But I prefer using style. So now, why we are having this dot title now? We are inside this module of style. We are now targeting the title. So it's like giving us it's like dynamic is generating dynamic class names for us. So using these modules now, we are now getting dynamic class names that can be used like this, right? It doesn't mean that if we do a normal styling of this same style, right, within our index dots, or let's say app.js, right? If we do the same style here and we take this title and we come here and change this, instead of using this method, we just give it a class name of title. We should still have the same result. Are we following? Right. Now, the fact that this is imported here too, right? But since it's imported as a model, we're importing it as a model. That is why we are doing style dot. So if you check the import of the CSS here, you see how they imported the CSS here. They didn't import it as a model. Okay. So which of the colors do you want me to change? Which one? You want me to change this one? The one in apps.css, or okay. Let me just change it here. Okay, so as you can see, the color has its effect. But if I still comment this out and I change this to what we had before, right? All I need to do is come to these models and change the color. And the color should still take effect. Okay, maybe we want to see have a completely different color when we change our implementation. Good. Are we good now? Are we good now? All right, cool. So now we have our model done. We can look at other methods of styling. So that's basically you can do your media query here, right? So let's say we want to add media. Let's say we want to do something different for mark suite of 6,600. Right? Okay. All right. So now say title color should be red. So for screen for 600, we want the color to be red. All right. Are we good? So if we come here, which one is going to be 600 here? Good. So from 600 below, you see that the color is red. So you can do and from anything above 600, the color goes back. So do we understand? Okay, so yeah, so easily you can handle your media query without stress using the model method for handling your styling. Let's move on to another method that we have to look at. So there is the style components. So do we know how the style component works? Have you guys used style component before? Okay, so yeah, good question. The concept is clear. Just curious, when do you think we might need to use the model method for styling? Okay, so basically for modular styling, especially if you are not using Tailwind, that's utility classes, right? Modular styling is very is like the go-to when you are planning a large code base. So let's assume that you are planning a large project which possibly will have a large architecture, right? So it means you might have a lot of pages, a lot of sections to those pages, right? So you might be looking at a more modular structure of writing your code in those kind of scenarios. So having your style in a modular structure would be more beneficial to you in those kind of scenarios. Do you understand? Yeah. Even though Tailwind most times makes it a little bit not necessary for external styling, right? But when you start doing things like less and SAS, you might really want to understand in-depthly how models work, right? So yeah, so that's what I can say on that. You can still go ahead and do some research. Maybe you might have some other people that are also advanced in um, using models, and then maybe you can also pick their brain on their own on what they think on that topic. Yeah, but it will only affect the component that model is in. Yes, so it will only that's the whole concept of modularization, right? As the name implies. So it's meant to affect uh, the particular component that it is built for, right? So if you have if like now, let's use these pages now, for instance. You understand that about us here is a model, contact us is a model, the whole dashboard here is a model, home is a model. So you when you are looking at a modular structure, it's only ideal that um you now think of having a model for about us page, then have another model for contact us page. Ideally, you might want to do it within this folder, right? So that I can have everything together. But at the same time, for best practice is always good to have a styling component, a styling folder where you organize all your models, all your style models, right? Then you can now import them from that styling folder into your components based on which components relates to which model you are utilizing. So can each component have separate models at the same time? When you say can each component, are you saying should one component have different models? That question, who asked that question? Udo. No, each have its own. Of course, that's what I just explained now. So that's the whole point of modularization. For each person to have, it's just like look at modularization like a room filled with 5 guys, right? Each guy is a model, right? Now you don't want a situation where one guy has two girls, or yeah, or one guy is attached to two girls, right? So in that scenario now, you are having one component with two models, right? But you want each component to have one model. So let's say a guy to one guy. So if you assign 5 guys and then you assign 5 girls in that room, each girl should be a model, a styling model for each guy. Does that make sense? Udo. Okay, good. So ideally, based off this explanation, you understand that you can easily know when to use models, right? And it's like developer based, it's on you, it's left to you to decide on what you want to use, right? Even though some of the um, assignments I'll specify what method of, styling I want you to use. All right. So, Enoch, what do you not understand? Unmute yourself. Please be quick. Like I said, I'm not.
Sorry, I'm trying to understand why you said when to use the modular CSS and like when to use modules and to use it.
So when do you use model? Like I said, I gave a scenario of a large code base, right? So let's assume that you have a large code base, and yes, definitely with a large code base, you want to be a little bit modularized with how you structure your code base, right? So in that kind of scenario, especially if you are not using Tailwind, you might want to have different models for different components, right? So for each component, you want to have a different model for that component. Do you understand?
Okay.
Yes, so for this present tax, the one
Yes.
that's actually on your LMS, I want people to I want you to use any method of styling that you want. You can even collaborate all the method of styling to deliver that project. Now, it is to your own advantage if you are able to utilize all the stylings, because you are using it to practice, you are learning, right? So you can use all the methods of styling for this present task that I've given. But for like moving forward, other tasks, I'll specify which styling method to use for other tasks. All right. So yeah, I like the fact that you guys are helping each other out in the text box. That's very appreciated. So let's move on to other methods of styling. All right, so let's look at style components, right? So for style component, we need to install a library for styling style component. So we'll say npm install styled components. All right. So let's give it a minute to a few seconds to install. Lois, people are responding to you in the text box. Why not read what they are saying and continue and ask them in the follow-up? You can follow up with questions and they can clarify you. That's why we have people in the class. I've explained this model almost 5 times, and every time I explain it, I answer your question. So don't wait until I call your name before you get the understanding of what I'm explaining to other people, whereas exactly what I'm explaining is explaining the same thing you're asking. it's like taking me backward and backward and backward. So when I finish explaining like that and you ask the same question, people are on the call that understand what I have said, right? And they are trying to answer you in the text box. Give them a chance to do that. Okay? Are we clear? Said, I've told you guys before that we are recording this class. You will get the recording on YouTube. So don't be requesting to record. Thank you. All right, so let's keep going. Let's look at style component. So style component, yeah, so we just succeeded in installing style component. So we're going to import from style component styled. Okay. So for this use case, let's style that very title component again, right? The same style, we're going to give it the same style. So let's create another div and call that style. Let's make it 3 to differentiate, 2 to differentiate them. All right. So for this now, like the name implies, style component, we are not styling, we are not creating a class here. We are creating a whole component, right? So we are saying we want to have a component name style and then give it the styles we want it to possess, right? The attributes we want it to possess. So we now create the style and then we initiate the style from style component library and we want to make it a H1 tag, right? Now, since the H1 tag, ideally we would have called H1 here, but because we are creating a style, a component of its own, we want that component to be a H1 component. So we want this style to be a H1 tag, right? Now, if we pick this style and we come here and we call it as a component here, right? It should apply this style on this text. So let's see it in action. Good. Are we together? Do you people understand what happened? Okay. So you understand the fact that we are creating a component, right? You understand that for this div is not a component, right? This div is not a component, but we want to create a component, and that component we want to use it as a tag. Do you understand? Like we want to use it as a div. But in this case now, we are creating a H1 tag. So I'm creating a H1 tag. What this style does is creates a H1 tag in this title. Do you understand? This is assignment. This here is assignment. So we are assigning this styled component of H1 to this title. So this title becomes a H1 tag containing this style. Do you understand now? All right, good. So based on this now, if we now call this style now as a component, as a tag, right? Anything we give it, any content we write within it would possess the style that's coming from here. So it's just like picking your H1 in CSS and styling your H1 tag. Is it clear? All right, anybody has a blocker? All right, let's move on. So let's visualize. Okay, so you guys say we should have different colors for each of these. So let's have brown. Brown. Let's have green. Good. So for each one, we have different colors so that we know that they are all having all their styles are working, right? Hold on, sir. The title becomes H1, or H1 is inserted in the title. Yeah, the title becomes a H1 tag. The title becomes a H1 tag that contains these attributes. So typically, if we use normal H1 now, you understand? Okay, good. Yeah. All right, cool. Okay, so we have it displayed. So I believe that we are fine with this. We can move on. Right? I can move on. Okay, good. All right, good. So let's look at Tailwind. So for Tailwind, we would need to install. So Tailwind they have their, hold on. So let us Tailwind. Yes, so let me. All right, so basically all the instructions are here when it comes to creating using Tailwind, right? So yeah, you can have tailored for Vite. So yeah, this is for Vite, right? So to install this, you see that we can create directly. Then we install our Tailwind CSS. So let's just go ahead and so you guys can actually access that documentation if you, or let me just share it with you guys in the text box. Okay, so you have the documentation. The style component, yes, exactly. All right, so you have the documentation, and I think we are done installing that. So you have to follow through with all the process of setting up Tailwind. We now init our tailwind.config file. Then we configure our tailwind.config file. So it's the content we are editing. And we also attach this to our index.css. So we come to index.css and I want to attach it up here. So with this, our Tailwind CSS should work. So let's pick this and create another div for Tailwind. All right. Do you guys have any blocker? That documentation is quite explanatory. I don't need to do much of talking here. There's a process. You see, there are steps, so you can follow those steps. If you've created your project already, you don't need this step. Just go ahead to installing CSS and follow through with the instructions that are embedded here, right? And then you can go ahead and have your code working. Is that fine? Are we good? All right, good. So we want to have the color. So I want to say text and give it a color, right? So let's say we want to give it which color should we give it? Suggest the color, my guys. Yellow. Pink. Wow. I'm not sure we have pink directly on this stuff, but let's see. No, it's not dark pink. So let's use this. Do ash. So you guys say we should use pink. Let me see. Is this good enough for you? All right. So I hope this did not confuse you people, what I did here. I think we're using gray already. I hope this did not confuse this. You didn't get confused by this. You can actually go through the documentation and you understand this better. So I just pass the color to the text, and then we want to have font size, right? So font size. Okay, let's just go ahead and okay. So it doesn't seem like our CSS has taken effect. So I'm going to restart our server. All right. So let's see. That is starting our server. Okay. So no, Tailwind is for every project. You install it on every project you create. Every new project you install Tailwind. Udo, is that clear? Yeah. So you install Tailwind for every project. Okay, it's working. All right, so to differentiate this, let's make it 3. So we had 50px, but this is not working, so let's give it a 50px. Good. So we want to have all of them on this. All right, so as you can see, Tailwind is working, right? So ideally, when you do your configurations, try to restart your server. Don't get stuck on it, thinking, why is my Tailwind not working? You can try restarting your server and it should work. Yeah. So that is that. Let me give you a little insight to why Tailwind is really really used nowadays. Or let me speak for myself. personally, I prefer Tailwind for many reasons, but most importantly for its mutability, right? So Tailwind is very mutable, and there's no limit to its mutability. So I can manipulate my styling using Tailwind to the extreme. I can manipulate even this Tailwind config, because all this can have values that will modify or improve on what you want to do with your code, depending on the level that you are utilizing Tailwind. But those are like high level stuff that you will eventually get to meet along the line. So yes, when you use this, you can use this to give it your own value, like I did here. Yes, exactly, definitely. So like there are a lot of ways, there are a lot of things, even color. I can define all my colors within my Tailwind config, right? And then all I need to do is call those colors. Instead of writing the colors now the way I'm writing it, I can call those colors in my component and they would apply. So me writing, defining my colors, yes, so I can give my colors custom name exactly. And then here now, instead of writing this color like this, all I need to do is write that custom name after writing text. I need to give it the color that I've defined it to be. Yeah. So that, like I said, that's high level stuff. This class, we are going to be handling basic React concepts. But you have the documentation. Trust me, you can find out anything you want to find out using this documentation, because everything is here, right? And then you can also do some extra research on your own. Are we good? Can we move? I think we still have one more styling method to look at. So should I proceed? All right, okay. So the last but not the least we'll be looking at is CSS in JavaScript. All right. So this very one, I'm sure you guys have seen it work before, right? So this one is CSS here. It's like writing your CSS using JavaScript, right? So it allows you to write CSS within your JavaScript files using libraries like Emotion. It helps to keep your styles scoped and makes it easy to use dynamic values. Well, no, I'm not going to be looking at Bootstrap in this class. Bootstrap is low level. Bootstrap is not really that much in use generally. I can't say for everybody, but I don't use it. It has its limitations, which Tailwind exceeds, right? Say justice for Bootstrap. Yeah, so Bootstrap has its limitations, which Tailwind exceeds. So with the likes of Tailwind in the business, I don't see there's no room for me to utilize, or for most people to utilize Bootstrap. I don't know if you guys are okay with that. Do you understand that? Is that fine? Can we move? All right, okay. So we are going to look at, let's go ahead and just, so for this, we are going to install Emotion React. So we are going to install Emotion React. So install that Emotion slash. All right. So I know you guys will ask for this, so let me just paste it in the text box for you. Okay, let me just paste the whole. Let me just paste the whole command for you. All right, so we install emotion from React, right? Then we want to import. So before importation, let's do asterisk. So this is part of the implementation of. All right, so this is actually part of the implementation. To use this, we need to do a JSX import source for the CSS library. Okay, are we following any blocker? Wait, I think I mistakenly sent this command to Udo, so let me change it. All right, so everybody should be able to see it now. All right, so with this defined now, right, we can now utilize it to do our styling. So let's say const title styler equals to CSS. Okay, let's say color gray. Let's not beat around the bush too much for color. Let's say color gray, and let's say font size 50 px. All right, so if for this styler now, all we need to do now is utilize in our code, let's use the h1 tag on this. So instead of using class name here, we are going to be using CSS. That CSS we just imported. This CSS, all right? And then we are now going to put the style we just defined inside here. Pardon me. I'm going to put the style inside here. Okay. So this should give us, so we use gray, right? Was it gray? Yeah. So we use gray for that. We understand? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so do we understand? All right, okay. All right, good, good, good. Let's keep going. So basically, that's all for styling. Let's do media query for CSS in JavaScript, right? So all we need to do is come here and say at media. So let's do for 600. Right? And then I want to say for 600, let the color be red. No need for this. I don't need that. Okay, so let's see what happens now. So this is below red. What did I use? Mean width. So let's say we want to use max width. Okay, so I did mean width. Let's use max width. Max. Okay, good. So anything below 600, as you can see, hello world is red. So are we good? I'm seeing no. Udo. Why are you saying no? You're not good. You don't understand. Yeah. So you use the backtick. You don't use normal this thing. You use backticks. Even for style components, if you notice, you use the backtick. How do you return the CSS? I already did now. So because this is what we are using. This library, this here, this provision gives us the room to add our CSS, our JavaScript CSS into our code. So you can see that I've added this and I am just directly calling our style here that we created to it. Yeah, it's going to be individual elements. So if I have a H1 now and I want to have a P tag now, if I want to use the same style for the P tag, definitely I can just copy this and paste. But if I want to give the P tag a different style, let's just do it let's do it. So let's assume I want to give the P tag a different style. All right. No, so it's based on the definition now. So as I've done this now, it should give this P tag the same style. But let's assume that I want this P tag to have a different style. All I need to do is replicate to give it its own style. Do you understand? But I can avoid this and call it P tag. Do you get what's happening? So instead of doing another const, right, I used a comma to utilize this very const. So now with this now, all I need to do is pick this one and add it to my P tag and change the properties. So let's say I want to use blue. And then when it is on 600, I want it to be white. Good. So with this now, if we come here, you see that when it's below 600, it's white. When it comes back up, it's blue. That is for the P tag. This is the P tag here. So Udo, is that clear? Whose hand is raised? Udo, unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, coach, thank you. I'm not sure you understood my question.
Mm-hmm.
You know that all the styling we'll be doing for just individual elements. Now, obviously, in a component, you won't just have one element that you're styling. So if you're styling the different elements in your component in the component, and you want to return them. How do you return them? Because all these return that you have been doing is just for one element, either a title tag or a H1 tag or a P tag. Now, if you have a div that has all these elements inside and you are styling them individually, how do you return them?
That is exactly what I just did now. So these two now, I'm styling them individually now, and they are part of this whole component, right? This return statement works for everybody. So now let's assume that these two now, based on what you just asked, is contained in a div, right? So let's assume that they are all in a div, right? And I want to have this style, this one have a different style from this one. This one. All right. So I believe this is where your question is heading to, right? So now I want this H1 to have a different style, and I want this P tag to have a different style. Stay unmuted because I wanted we are communicating.
Yes. Okay, please, can you give the P tag a different wording, sort of hello world, so that we see the difference?
Okay.
You know,
So
everything is appearing hello world, hello world, hello world. So
let's say hello Udon for the P tag, right? Should I go on?
yes, and another question to add to
No,
it.
we're not done with
This
that question.
okay, no
You
problem.
understand what happens now?
Yes, but I'm saying okay, so that means if you now add you call the same constant and now add p tag to it. So if you have let's say an h2 tag before the p tag, you call the same title style and add a h2 tag beside it.
So I don't understand adding H2 tag beside it.
See
Which
now
of
the
the are
second
you talking
scroll
about? Are
down.
you talking about this one?
Okay, you know that you declared a constant for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said that in order not to declare another constant, you were now adding title styler. The first one was just title styler.
Let me make it clear. So let's leave this title. Let's say first, let's say H1 tag. And then let's call this one P tag. Do you understand? Now, this style is what I want to use for my H1 tag, which is this color of gray and this, right? When I put a comma, it's saying, okay, I'm done with styling this H tag. I want to style my P tag now. I put a comma and I style my P tag. So if I carry this H1 tag now and come down here, I will attach it to my H1 tag. And it should carry that style that I have given. Now, for my P tag, which has its own different styling now, I can now pick my P tag and also attach it to my P.
Okay.
Do you understand now? And it should give me the two different styling for the two. You see that Udo has its own style and Hello World has its own style. So,
Yeah,
do you understand?
I do. Thank you.
Good. So,
Okay, so my next question is, why are you putting this, like the first one, you put 3 exclamation mark? Does it have anything to do with you, or you just use it as an identifier to separate the hello world? These exclamation marks.
for this, no, I'm just using them to differentiate them.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you notice from here, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, so that you know which
There's
one is
3.
working for which.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Any other question, please? You guys are making me laugh in the textbook. It says style component even has props. Like, why will I be writing props on top CSS? Nigeria is already stressful enough. Well, it's not just the result that matters, to be honest. Sometimes performance also determines what method of styling you use, right? So there's you have to put your attention, you need to know what method will work best based off the kind of project you are doing and the kind of performance you expect from that project. So you'll be tailoring your choices of CSS pattern based off those kind of factors, right? So yeah, there's a lot of factors. There's performance, there's usability, readability, a lot of things. So yeah, it's just to identify each element with different name. Yeah. Okay. So I believe that we are good. We all understand how to utilize the CSS classes. Okay, so which one do I advise you to use based on performance and readability? Okay, based on performance and readability, the modular method is always a go-to for especially readability and yes to performance, right? Because now you are going to be loading your CSS based off the component that is being mounted because it's modularized, right? You are not loading the whole CSS in your application at the same time. You'll be loading the CSS that is attached to that model of code that is being rendered. So yeah, that will help performance a lot too. Then definitely Tailwind. Yeah, Tailwind is a utility class based. So definitely that should also give you good performance. Readability. I think for Tailwind, it's just a matter of writing your code properly, right? If you write your code properly, it should be readable by anybody that understands how to use Tailwind. Then the modular is actually mostly preferable, but most of us use Tailwind. Is that clear, Faith? All right. Any other question? So that we can call it a day. Do we have any other questions? I'll take one more question. None? Okay. So, okay. Obina, let me hear you.
Okay. Do we need to use like all the type of styling, or we can just stick to one?
You can stick to one. Like I said, it depends on it's developer-based choice, right? Or company-based choice. Some companies will decide what you use, right? And then if they don't decide, it's left to the developer to decide based off experience and which one works best for them and the kind of project they're working on, right?
Okay, so we should try learning all of them, or
Yeah, ideally it's right that you know everything.
okay. Thank you.
All right. So for now, for this project, like I said, feel free to explore this present project on LMS. Feel free to explore the different methods of styling. You can use different methods for different parts of the project, just for the exploratory purpose, right? But if you don't want to explore, that's fine. I'm not going to be judging the tags based off how many styling methods you use. What's important for me is the performance and the actual visuals, right? That is the design feel that you give to me in the project. Yeah. So I think that will be all for today. Thank you guys for coming early today and for making the class interactive and fun. For those who are very resourceful in the text box, I appreciate you and I see you. Omotayo, that's not something we can discuss here. DM me, Omotayo, DM me, and then I'll look into why you have not been promoted. But if you are being graded and you have not been promoted, there's a high chance that you have been demoted to the beginner class. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. We'll call it a day.